Hi, I'm Bill Robertson, Cotton Extension Agronomist with the University of Arkansas System, Division of Ag Cooperative Extension Service. And today joining me is Allison Howell. Allison's a county extension agent here in Clay County. But before we begin our program, I want to thank Steve Stevens. Steve kicked our program off. He's chairman of the State Support Committee, and I'd like to thank him and others on the State Support Committee, as well as Cotton Incorporated, for funding our education and research programs here in Arkansas. These programs are funded through our checkoff funds from Cotton. The Cotton Board, I think, does an excellent job of managing our checkoff monies, which are used for promotion and research. But most importantly, right now, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us for our very first ever Cotton Virtual Field Day. As many of you know, cotton has a long history of importance in Arkansas. It served as a cash crop of choice during our history and was grown in every county in Arkansas at one time, as evident by old abandoned cotton gins scattered across the state. Today, cotton is cultivated primarily in the delta of eastern Arkansas, with a small portion in southwest Arkansas. Arkansas generally ranks 4th or 5th in the United States in terms of planted acres. Where we excel above most other states is our average lint yield per acre. This is primarily a result of our high percentage of irrigation. Over 90% of cotton is irrigated in Arkansas, compared to about half of that in Mississippi and only about 20% in Tennessee. Arkansas generally trails only California and Arizona in terms of our lint yield. As a result, Arkansas consistently ranks 4th in the U.S. in terms of bales of cotton produced. In the cotton world, mill closings have resulted in decreased mill demand and consumption of cotton, resulting in our depressed prices that we are currently experiencing. It has also impacted the way we do business, including the increased use of online meetings such as this virtual field day. The Prospective Planning Report by USDA NASS, or NASS, released in March, estimated cotton plantings in Arkansas to be 590,000 acres. Depressed prices and less than optimum temperatures and continued rain and wet conditions during our optimum planting window, which is the first 10 days in May, had a negative impact on acres. Planting progress mid-May, which is at the end of our optimum planting window, was only approximately 50% of our 5-year average. With a favorable 10-day window for planting, we can usually plant almost all of our cotton statewide. We did not have a good window for planting until the very end of May. Yield potential dropped sharply on fields planted after May 20th. The Arkansas Acreage Report released the end of June estimated acres at 500,000, down 120,000 acres from a year ago and down 90,000 acres from the March planting intentions, which reflected our challenges in pricing and establishing the crop. Despite the later than desired plantings, we had very good conditions for growth and development. The Crop Production Report for Arkansas, released in August by USDA NASS, estimated cotton lint yield based on conditions as of August 1 to average 1,195 pounds per acre, and that would be up 10 pounds from our current record yield that was produced last year in 2019. This record yield projection reflects the advances the industry has made in germplasm, pest management products, and cultural practices to manage the crop and pest. These things enhance the ability of producers to combine tools and practices to manage or trick a plant that is perennial to grow like an annual. While it is good to win the yield contest, it is great to win the profit contest. This season has not been easy or cheap. We must remember to preserve our yield and fiber quality potential through well-developed and timed cultural practices all the way to harvest stage and harvest management, and combine these with an effective lint contamination prevention program which starts in the field. The first fields we plant are not always the first to be harvested. As we progress toward the end of this season, we must continue to manage this crop in a timely fashion to maintain our yield potential while keeping expenses in check. While our crop looks good right now, it's not over until it is harvested and pressed into a bale. We are keeping our fingers crossed. As we are coming toward the end of the season, thoughts toward next season are already in motion. One of the most pressing decisions for next year is variety selection. The University of Arkansas System Division of Ag has 2 programs to provide unbiased, research-based data to aid decision makers about variety selection. This field is one of 12 statewide where we have our large plot variety evaluations. This year we're evaluating 12 varieties in producer fields and letting the producer use their standard production practices so they know how these varieties perform under their standard practices. We evaluate vigor, earliness, and other parameters, as well as lint yield and fiber quality in real-world situations. These 12 are generally comprised of new commercially available varieties that represent what the companies feel will be the replacement for our current standards. These 12 varieties, along with many newer varieties, comprise the official variety trial commonly known as the OVT. Dr. Fred Bourland, our cotton breeder stationed at Kaiser, conducts the OVT and has 5 locations statewide with 51 entries at each location to ensure testing at a range of various soil types and environments moving from south to north in eastern Arkansas. These tests are conducted at research and extension centers using small plots. A much more intensive data set is collected for each entry, as performance in this evaluation is a big part of the selection criteria that companies use to consider whether to continue or move the variety forward or drop it from their program. If we look at what producers have in the field this year, DP or Delta Pine 1646 B2XF is our most widely planted variety on just over 45% of the acres statewide. The B2 designates it has 2-gene Bt protection. The XF designates the herbicide tolerance. 2/3 of our planted acres are in 3 varieties, all of which are 2-gene Bt varieties. The Bt or Bacillus thuringiensis genes are incorporated into the plant for worm control. We are starting to see worm control issues with our 2-gene varieties and expect to see a major shift toward 3-gene varieties. The extra Bt gene enhances worm control. The major limitation to date for this shift has been the lack of high-yielding 3-gene varieties. We currently have about 30% of our acres planted to 3-gene Bt varieties. We expect to see commercial availability of several high-yielding 3-gene varieties available for planting next year. Essentially, all varieties planted in Arkansas contain Bt genes for worm control and have genes for tolerance to over-the-top applications of glyphosate or Roundup and glufosinate or Liberty herbicides. These herbicide tools are essential for control of pigweed. Approximately 85% of our planted acres are in XtendFlex varieties or XF varieties, which have the gene for tolerance to over-the-top applications of dicamba herbicide in addition to Roundup and Liberty. Another 10% are in Enlist varieties, which have genes for tolerance to 2,4-D herbicide in addition to the Roundup and Liberty herbicides. The dicamba and 2,4-D traits are not available together, but do provide additional options for weed control to increase flexibility in management programs for weed control and resistance management. Results from both the large plot county variety testing program and the OVT may be found online at Arkansas Variety Testing Programs. Online resources such as this one for variety testing and for the dissemination of other information will likely become even more widely used as we move into our new educational delivery methods. However, as always, your county agent is just a phone call, text, or an email away. Please contact your local county agent for more details on variety selection or any other topics that may arise from the cotton patch. We hope that you benefited today from participating in our field day. Again, I want to thank Cotton Incorporated and the Arkansas Cotton Support Committee for funding our education and research programs, and especially want to thank you for joining us today.